Hello and welcome to the shed. In today's video I want to talk a little bit about what you see online a lot, and that is the keyhole style lever cap and its sliding. So let's jump in here and have a little bit of a chat about it. So what I got here is a little bit of a selection of hand planes. I've got two new ones here in the Lie-Nielsen and Lubin, and then I've got two vintage ones in the Stanley here. This one happens to be a Type 6, so this is the oldest one I've got. This one goes back quite a ways into the 1800s. This one is probably a 1950s, something like that. I'm not 100% sure on the type of that one. So, a little bit of history. We know that Stanley made a lot of adjustments in their hand planes going throughout the years. In 1867 was when Stanley first started manufacturing their Type 1 hand planes, and they used a design very similar to this one here, with this keyhole design. It wasn't until 1933 with the Type 16 that they changed the design to house this little kidney shape here, touted to prevent it sliding ever so slightly. I can only find what people suggested or said there. I can't find any information from Stanley as to why the change was made, only people surmising that that is why. So that is 66 years of using this design on their hand planes. And in actual fact, it's still in use today on a whole bunch of other tools that Stanley still makes to this day. That same keyhole design. Whether it's on spoke shaves like this, modern spoke shaves, your low angle hand planes still will use that same keyhole design. There's a lot of different tools. You have that same design on your rabbet planes like this one here. It was used all around the place. So if the design didn't work as a lot of people suggest, and it's inferior and all of that, if it was causing that many problems, Stanley wouldn't have continued to use the design, and I'm pretty sure with a whole bunch of other changes that they made over those 66 years, that if it was a problem they would have made a priority to actually change that design sooner. So I surmise that it's not really a failed design, it's just that it wasn't much of an issue for most people using the hand planes. So let's get back down to these hand planes, and I'll show you what you see online a lot of people doing to actually force it to move. So the blade is in its normal operation, and now we're going to keep twisting this, and we're going to bring the blade up as high as it can go. So we can see it's starting to creep up just a little bit now. And this is what a lot of people are talking about is causing issues. Alright, so we've got that blade retracted a long way up inside that mouth now. It's not even close to where it's going to be used in operation. And it's only crept up a tiny amount. How about the Lie-Nielsen, right? It shouldn't do it on this one, right? It's advanced technology, touted as the best of the best out there. Alright, so we've got that one in, it's clicked in, nice and tight and firm. Let's start moving it. Oh no, it's moving even sooner than the older style. Why is that? Move it back the other way. Oh, it's moving with it. It's closing it up a little bit. That's interesting. Let's go back up again. It moves as soon as the blade moves. Why is that? Likely because of that larger wheel, it's starting to move it faster so we can get more rep. And I think the thread rate on the actual thread on the back there is a little more aggressive, so it actually turns faster, so that's one of the reasons it moves faster. But there's no change to that design, that is the exact same design. So do you think Lie-Nielsen, who's selling top-end premium hand planes, would have been using this if it was a huge issue? I don't think so. And the same thing happens with the Lubin, except it doesn't move quite as soon as the Lie-Nielsen one here. It's only when it gets right down the bottom you can see it moves. So we have 3 different types of planes from 3 different manufacturers. They're all sliding, right? And it all looks like you're moving a lot. It's got to be a real big issue, right? No, not really. I don't think so. And I'll show you why. So we'll reset every one of these. Let's see which one of these moves when we move it back and forth just doing a normal operation. So we're taking a shaving, maybe we want slightly more. Has that slipped? No. Alright, we were taking too heavier a cut. Let's pull it back up a bit and then re-engage it so it doesn't slide. Once again, has it moved? Let's advance it slightly more. Nice thick shaving. Once again, has it slipped? Let's do it again. We'll retract it up a bit till we're just not taking a shaving. Sorry, I keep turning it the wrong way since it's the opposite thread. It's doing my head in. So I've been turning it back and forwards within those few turns. Has this moved? Not that I can see. Let's have a look at the lubin next. We've got it all in there, it's fitted down, it's not moved, it's in the correct position. And we're already taking a shaving, so let's just retract this back. No shaving. So let's advance this until we take a shaving. So we're taking a shaving. Has that moved? No. Let's go for a little bit of a thicker shaving. Let's go really thick. So we're taking a big, thick old shaver. Has that moved? No? We're going too thick, let's retract it slightly. So that was about half a turn. Has it moved? Now let's take a look at the Lie-Nielsen. Got that lever clap in there, the blade is retracted, so let's advance it. So we're taking a nice thin shaving, which is what we'd likely do after we've shaved. We've squared the blade up, we've got it all square. So we start operating going, let's make that depth of cut a little deeper. Has that moved so far? No? Alright, we're going to go for a real heavy cut that you probably would never do with a plane like this. Okay, now we need to find the surface. So let's go back about half a turn. So you saw me go too far and then back to a normal size shaving. Has it moved? Let's do that again. Forward to a thicker shaving, not moved. Back to no shaving. Normal shaving again. Let's go down to that thicker shaving. Turn it slightly to a thinner shaving. Alright, we want to start again on a new board. No shaving. Let's go. Has that moved? No. So as you can see there, we made all three of these chip breakers move when doing something that you don't do in the normal operation with a hand plane. And then you've seen not one of these moved under normal operation of a hand plane. So for me, I don't really see it as an issue on any of these. So what I wanted to do is, let's just come in here and we'll have a look at a couple of things. I haven't actually done anything to the Lie-Nielsen to check. I'm going to assume it's because its machining is already correct on its lever cap, but there's two things, or maybe three, but mainly two things that you need to check with these to ensure that they're going to not move under normal operating circumstances. So let's jump in here and have a look. So one thing you want to check, and you want to do this in all your hand planes, and I never used to, is you want to make sure that this here is flat to the back of this. So you want to connect it in here and ensure that this is actually flush along here, meaning that it's making full contact across the back of your chip breaker. And if it doesn't, and it's sort of up on one edge, that means that the tension is not on it properly and it is more prone to sliding. So what I've got here is just two diamond stones, whatever, you just need them sitting at the same height. So I'm going to put a piece of paper here so I don't damage the back of that spring, and this is just a 1200 grit diamond stone. See, we've got that shiny right the way across there, and that means we're now going to get proper contact. So this is ending up being, well, it's still not sharp because this has still got a flat edge, but we're going to get proper flat contact across the back of your chip breaker. I've done that with both the Lubin and the Lie-Nielsen. So now I want to talk about one other thing, and then we'll get into the major one that actually deals with the tension. So one thing you can get when you have these vintage planes is this spring gets overstretched, and so when you push it down there, it doesn't actually hold it flat. It just goes flop, flop, flop. You can see this one's not flopping. So on some vintage ones, and I did have it on one of them, you actually want to just run something through here and bend just the tip of this back against it if you can. You can see how it sits off a little bit. Some of them sit off a little bit more than others, but if you've got a problem with it not holding it, you actually just want to bend the whole thing back against this as much as you can until it holds as you see it doing just here. Now let's get on to the vital one, the main screw tension and how we properly tension that. So let's take this Lubin one and we'll pretend that you've just got it out of the box. I mean, they do come super tight out of the box, so you do need to loosen them. So we've got this sitting in here, it's located correctly, and well, that's not right, that's not going to do anything, it's just sitting here loose. So what do? We begin to turn the screw. Let's screw it all the way in. Oh, that's too tight, we can't do that up. Now these are two things that I see people mention all the time. So what we want to do is loosen this tension off, and we want to double check. So it's not made any clicking sound, it's still loose. So I like to turn it, full turn there. It's making a little click sound there, but the key thing is it is holding it, but it can still be slightly tighter. So I'm going to go another quarter of a turn to here, and you heard that nice firm click sound, and we can double check whether we got it right, because is this still easy to move? It is. We're still moving the blade. It's not super easy. You want a bit of tension on it. You don't want it to just free spin with ease, but you need to be able to adjust it with your finger. If you can't adjust it with your finger, you might need to just tap it off a little bit. So if it is a little too tight, you can just come here and just turn it just just a tiny amount. And then check. And that is how you get the correct tension on these. So we've already done the work on the bottom of this one. Let's run it through its full range of motion and see if it moves now like it was in the test before. Oh, look at that. It has moved, but it's only right at the very top, and oh, look at that. It's moved itself back again. I can't take that any further. It's pushed against the bench. And oh, back up again. Quick look at the Lie-Nielsen as well, since we've fitted it. Let's go right through the range of motion on this one as well. We can see that the Lie-Nielsen benefited from this. It's actually not moving as much as it was and not as soon as it was before. So that little adjustment has helped the Lie-Nielsen. Didn't really help the Lubin. So now we're not seeing it move anywhere near as early. And so there you have it, folks. There are a few quick things you can do if you're having issues with this style still sliding under normal operating circumstances. And you can see that it actually made the Lie-Nielsen not slide as soon as it was in those initial tests, which is great if that little tiny adjustment makes that much of a difference. But we already saw that all three of these planes were working fine without doing that, and so they didn't really need it, but it can't hurt to actually do these quick little referencing things. It's going to make sure that the plane works as it's intended, and it's going to reference properly across the back there and properly hold your blade assembly. Because even though it wasn't sliding on the chip breaker, maybe the blade is moving ever so slightly when you're hand planing as well, and that will have to correct that as well. And if you like what you saw here today, do consider subscribing and sounding off in the description below. Bye for now.